Hey, welcome to Dad Space. This is Dave. It's a little different music this time around. Yeah, a little different. What are we doing? Well, this is National Podcast Post Month. What does that mean to you? It means to you that you're going to get 30 episodes in 30 days. 30, I know, right? And the idea is that as podcasters, we're going to create episodes in support of National Podcast Post Month. They call it hashtag #NaPodPomo for those at home that are keeping score. But the idea is that we just create content for you daily in the month of November. So we are focusing on some great people that have been past guests on the show and friends of the show, answering questions about dads and giving you some feedback. And then also adding in some of the books that I found and resources I found as a fellow dad that could help you possibly on your journey as a dad. So that's kind of what we're focusing on this month, and I'm excited to share this with you. It's going to be a great month, and today's episode is part of that. I'm excited to share with you a new resource, possibly new to you, and tell you my thoughts about it here on Dad Space. Glad to be with you. The other big part of November, which I'm excited to also bring forward for those that are unaware, is we call it also Movember. What is Movember? It's when the mustache is calling. It is our time as men to unite, to take on mental health, suicide, prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and all of that is to shine a light on men's mental health and men's physical health. And we're celebrating Movember as well. Link in the show notes for you to see how you can support is to raise money and awareness for men. So on top of doing National Podcast Post Month, this month is always focused on you as well as men. We're here to support you and to let you know that there's a community around you that's wishing and searching for the best for you as men. So happy Movember, everyone, as well. Let's get into the podcast. Okay, we're back with another of our 30 episodes, 30 days. Isn't this crazy? This is fun, right? I wanted to send you back in time, back to episode 36, where Dave was on the show, and we talked about the basics of money. And I think that's one thing as parents we can do better with, is how we treat money. I'm looking at you, the person that loves to collect Lego, or action figures, or model cars, or actual cars. We spend a lot of money even as adults, and we're setting kind of a stage for our kids as they watch us handle our money. Some of us are really good at it, some of us are quite average, and some of us are pretty terrible at how we handle the finances that come into our home. Money is one of the biggest stressors in everything, in every relationship between partners, between parents and children, everything. Money can be this overarching umbrella that really can have an impact on us and our family. So I want to send you back into the archive of Dad Space episodes, back to episode 36, when Dave was on the show, and we talked about how we as dads can be a better shepherd of money in our home, a good example to our children about money in our home. And on the episode, we kind of delved into credit cards, real estate, and basic money wisdom that I think all of us could benefit from. So here's a little clip from the show. If you're interested, and especially if you're new here, welcome to Dad Space. You can go back into the archive and listen to episodes like the older episodes and still get a piece of information and knowledge and wisdom from great guests from the past, because the content still holds up. Episode 36, and now we're up episode 140 plus, and here we are still talking about all things dad. So here's Dave here on the show, and here's his wisdom, Dave Chudyk. And excited to have him on the show. Here you go. Here's Dave.
Well, and one thing you mentioned is habits, and I say this with grace and with mercy and with love, but all of us, we are in our financial situation because of our choices and what we've done. Now, some of us have been, we've had harder paths, and there's no question some people have easier paths. So this is not to say if you don't have money, you're a bad person. It's just to say that you probably haven't developed good money habits. And, maybe because you weren't taught, or maybe you were taught, you just chose not to listen. But, there are certain, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 money behaviors that if you do them, you're going to have a really hard money life. And if you don't do them, you're going to have a good money life. And if it were only about earning a lot of money, pro athletes, rock stars, they would never go broke, but they do too. The only difference between them and us is they go broke and they have a heck of a lot more fun on the way down because they're driving Lamborghinis and everything else where we're not. But, we have to take personal responsibility for where we're going. Maybe what happened to you in the past was not your fault, but once you're a grown up, you kind of have to say, my past, I'm not going to let it destroy me. And I'm going to make, I'm going to shift and I'm going to make good decisions moving forward. We can't change what's happened in the past, and we can't change if we were dealt a more difficult hand. And it's totally legitimate to say that some people were dealt more difficult hands than others. I mean, there's no question there. But when you get to a point of adulthood, you just have to make that decision that you don't let those difficult circumstances defeat you. And that's hard. I mean, there's no question that it's hard sometimes. But when you teach your kids that from a young age, you had a $20 allowance and you spent all 20. Well, guess what? Now you don't have any more money. That's the way life works. So next time you get your allowance, you'll have more money. But until then, you don't have money. And that's kind of a good lesson, because when you're a grown up and your paycheck is gone, well, guess what? You don't have any money till next paycheck unless you've put some aside.
It's another great episode for you to go check out. Go back in time, link in the show notes to check out David on the show. And the whole idea around money, the one thing I know is that my kids really have no idea what was happening behind the scenes when they were little. There was times when my wife Jennifer and I, we were working 3 jobs each, all part-time, because we couldn't find a full-time job. We had to pay out of pocket for dentistry and medicine and all that stuff. So we were working 6 part-time jobs a week. Sometimes my wife would work 3 jobs in one day. And we would come home exhausted to 3 kids, watched by my mom in our home. And there was times when we had enough food to make something small for our kids to eat, and Jen and I would have nothing. Like nothing at all. And go to bed with a glass of water and get up and do it again the next day. And now here we are at a different place in life where we've conquered our debts. We have purchased properties for our kids, which is setting them up for the future. But even in all of that, there's just this underwhelming feeling like it's still not enough. And that they don't understand how close we were back in the early days of our family to all of this, like a house of cards just falling down. And how many times my wife and I looked at each other and went, is this even worth it? Like, why are we doing this? Why is money such a huge thing in our home? Why is this so hard? And at no point did we ever let our kids into the fact that it was as bad as it was. Now, was that a good thing or a bad thing? Not letting them know. We wanted them to feel like anything is possible. And as Jen and I worked through our finances and paying off my family's debt so that my mom didn't have to carry that alone after my dad passed away, we just knew that we wanted something different. We wanted our story to be different for our kids. And we're on that path. So my question to you as a dad is, what path are you on with your money? Especially if you're a young dad, your kids are little, you have time. Make sure you focus on growing as a dad, growing your kids, and being a great example. And don't let money kill your family. Thanks for listening. This is Dad Space. I'm glad you're here. Happy November to you. Happy Movember. And I would love for you to share this with another dad. This podcast, this Movember, this month where we focus on dads, this is the focus on you. And we are in your corner. If you've ever felt like you're alone, if you've ever felt like you're doing this on your own and there's no one there to help you and support you, then let Dad Space be that for you this Movember. We need to stick together. We need to be there to support each other and build each other up as men. And this was an entire month focused on us being Movember. So happy Movember, everyone. Understand that you're loved, cared for, and needed in this world. And there's no one else that can be the father that you can be. There's no one else who can be the man that you can be. And we need you. Happy Movember. Thanks for listening to Dad Space. And look forward to having you back for the next daily episode here in the month of November as we celebrate Movember and National Podcast Post Month. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a great dad. And thanks for sharing the show. Happy Movember, everybody.
It's time to rethink men's health. Because it doesn't just affect men, it affects us all. When men are well, the benefits ripple through families and communities. But when men are unwell and unsupported, we all feel it. We're all the real face of men's health. Be part of the solution with Movember.